My name is Jason Bolger. 27 years ago, me and my brother went for a drink in our local pub. Just like any other day, stuck an engine in my Cosworth. It was 1998. I said to my brother, do you fancy a beer? He was like, no, I don't fancy it. He just had a new puppy, dog he's got with him. Anyway, cut a long story short, we go for a beer. We end up in a pub 30 seconds away from my house. So, local pub, know everyone in there. West Ham was playing that night. A lot of people went to that, whatever. So, having a drink, blah, 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 blah. Cut a long story short, I won't bore you. Woke up in a police station, not knowing where I was. Pushed the bell and said, go and get me stuff, I want to go home. Copper come down, blah, blah, blah. You're not going home, I'm arresting you for criminal damage, affray, attempted murder, and some other charge, I can't remember what they were. Just basically every single charge they could think of. And I was like, oh, what? It's this a wind up, do you know what I mean? So I'm trying to wrap my brains. Anyway, cut long story short. Going to interview, barmaid who I've known for many years, Claire Diamond. First statement, bang. Jason Bolger was using a bar stool as a weapon outside the pub, blah, blah, blah. Smashed the bar stool, blah, blah, blah. I was thinking, could I have used the bar stool and not remember it? I'm thinking, Claire's got no reason to lie. Do you know what I mean? I know her. I've known her for years. Only the night before she was pleading me to take Camden Palace, give her a lift to Camden Palace because we was going on the Friday. And anyway, so I was thinking, she's got no reason to lie. I thought, must have done it. Do you know what I mean? I don't remember doing it, but it's weird. And I don't know why I would want to do it, but she's saying it must have happened. So then, cut long story short, my brother gets brought over from another station, from Basildon. First thing he does, we go on the smoking yard, and he says to me, Jay, to fill you up. I said, what do you mean? And he goes, this is what happened. He tells me, blah, blah. I said, I said, Claire said it was me who had the bar stool, right? Must be wrong. He went, she also said, it was me who had the bar stool inside the pub. I went, yeah. He went, I didn't smash a bar stool, Jay. I watched the person who did. He went, it weren't you and it weren't me. We didn't touch it. He went, I jumped in and went, whoa, he's had enough. He said, and I picked him up. I went, right, okay. So I thought, what's she lying for? I thought, right, I've known her years. I mean, you'd have to be an absolute wrong one to be lying. I thought, well, I don't know. Maybe I can't work it. Anyway, cut a long story short, people saying we were spikes, evidence of this and that. Police sodded all their samples up, didn't take them. All weirdness going on. Really weird. But at that point, just woke up not knowing what's going on. So, punted into Chelmsford Prison, on remand for all of the above. So, a week later, go to court. I've got a new co-defendant. A guy called Craig, sitting there. Wow, been charged with murder. Really? Yeah, so he was charged with the same murder. He was the guy I was drinking with on the night. He's been charged with the same murder. So, alright. So, anyway. Evidence comes through, and there's a statement of Craig being picked out on an ID parade as the one who smashed the bar stool over the deceased head inside the pub and then ran out with the same bar stool outside the pub. So then he was picked out on ID parade by a girl who sat in his class and had known him for years. And then his cousin, John, was nicked for intimidating witnesses because he went round and put it on the witness and said, stop grassing Craig up for saying what he did with a bar stool. So you had Craig charged with a murder, picked out an ID parade, a lot of evidence. Cousin jointly charged with putting it on the witness, so pretty cut and dry case. I'm thinking, brilliant, I'll get bail. Do you know what I mean? Because there's only one bar stool being used. if he's been picked out, I know no ID parade at this point. If he's been picked out as doing it, then obviously, you know, my brother's right. My brother was saying, I told you, I know, I'm not stupid. So anyway, we all go for bail. Me and my brother go up, bail refused. Oh, okay. Craig goes up for bail, and John go up for bail. Bail granted, bail granted. Strange. Go to trial. Craig walks in. Trial starts. I quickly find out that every single bit of evidence, including all the statements saying that Craig was the one who used the bar stool, including the positive identifications of Craig being picked out on ID parade, including all the evidence surrounding his cousin intimidating the witnesses to get him off. It's all been binned. It's all been shelved. It's all disappeared, lost deep in the unused material. So I thought, right, that ain't right. Do you know what I mean? I thought, all the evidence we know is lies, because they wouldn't have picked him out in the first place, would they? Just as a no-brainer. So then the fingerprints went missing from who used the bar stool, strangely. And they never produced the forensic bundle. Okay. Then my QC says to me, we're going to blame you for everything. Craig will go home on a halfway submission because he'll have no evidence read out against him. And then after 2 weeks, when Craig goes home on his halfway submission, he said, we'll get out the evidence and we'll prove you never done it. So I went, I'm not wrong. And I said, but, you know what I mean? It's a bit of a ask, isn't it, to take all the evidence. He went, Jason, I've been doing this a long time, blah, blah, blah. All right. Okay, I said, all right, as long as you know, stick to your word. Every time someone mentions something in the case, they say, oh, and someone swung the bar stool up into the air. Well, instead of getting out the descriptions, instead of getting out the forensics, instead of getting out the identifications, instead of doing any of that, my barrister stands up and says, we accept all descriptions are of my client. We accept all of the forensics. They never produced a bundle and no one ever see it, but they accepted all the forensics. And we accept all the descriptions are of my client, which is a bit weird because not one independent witness could pick me out. Even the attempted murder victim, who was looking at the bloke who did it, could not pick me out. And we accept that my client did everything you said he did and a lot more, but why did he do it? So I thought, fuck it, that was a bit much. I thought, whatever, if he gets Craig off, you know what I mean, I ain't wrong. So next thing, the co-defendant's barrister stands up and says, my lord, there's no evidence against my client, blah, blah, blah. And he says, yeah, you cut a long story, you're free to go. Craig walks out, see you later, Joe. Then I'm thinking, brilliant, you know, everything they said would happen to that. Craig's got off, which is what I wanted. And then, obviously, I never used the bar stool. I didn't touch it. Obviously, my brother never. So I'm thinking, brilliant, this is it. So I go downstairs, have a legal argument with me QC, and I say, look, George, blah, 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 get out the evidence. And he's like, well, look, the judge is listening. I said, what do you mean? He went, well, look, he said, a judge like this, he said, he's actually listening. He said, and when he's listening, you don't want to lose him. I said, right. He went, we're going to leave it how it is. I went, we're going to leave all the evidence on me. He went, well, yes, but don't worry, you're going to get off, you're going to get off. I said, no, bollocks to that. I said, I haven't touched the bar stool. He went, Jason, this is a big case, Joey, blah, blah, blah. You'll spend the rest of your life in jail, da, 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 da. So I said, no. I said, I'm not taking all the evidence, saying at me. He said, but I'm going to get you off on the samples. They took your samples late, the samples are all swapped, they're all over the place. There's nothing they can rely upon. They said, you know, everything they've done is wrong. There's the forensics, there's no forensics. So I said, well, why'd you accept him if there's no forensics? Why'd you accept him? He said, well, look, Jason, different cases have different things, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, right. I thought, you're fitting me up, you low life. That's what I'm thinking. So, gone back to Chelmsford Prison, guy I know, probably, I don't know, been away for a long time, done a lot of work out of Canning Town. And he said to me, Jay, listen, they're hitting you up, mate. He said, your brother was made to go guilty wrongly. He said, he should never have done it. He said, the guy was run over. He said, and obviously you didn't use the bathroom. So I was like, yeah, I know. So he said, get a point, stick to it. It's out all night if you have to. He said, get a point, stick to it, go in there. He said, and drive it in. He said, because I'm telling you now, they don't care about you. He said, your QC will be sitting down with the prosecution, having a glass of wine after this, laughing. He said, because to them it's just a joke. He said, but I know what happened. He said, I know you never done it. He said, and I can see there ain't many people like you who would have sat there and took it. He said, I'm telling you now. He said, do that. So I said, all right. Got me paperwork out. I'm dyslexic. I can't read. Reading bits, blah, 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 trying to get through it. Noticed, you know, I know it's a car accident, so I thought, fuck it, look for the car accident. So I'm looking. I'm trying to catch him out. So I knew the next day the bloke was coming to give evidence, and he was driving the supposed only car on the night. So, fire, brilliant. So, next day, got a call, just like clockwork. The guy who's driving past, and he's yellow Hyundai, gets in the box, and he's giving his evidence, and I'm going, George, trying to get me QC's attention. George. And he can hear me, but he's blanking me. So I say, Ruth, and I call over the junior. Junior comes over. What do you want? I said, do you mean what I want? I said, I'm going to ask him a question. She went, you're not allowed to ask questions. I went, I haven't asked one question, I said, in this entire trial. I said, I just sat back and watched it play out like a play. I said, all scripted. I said, tell George if he don't ask this question, he's sacked. End of. So she went, write it down. Got a pen and paper. I said, I'm dyslexic, I can't. She went, oh, what? Go on, what do you want to say? I said, ask that witness, did he receive a cut hand on the night? Question. She went, what do you want to know that for? I said, well, can you ask it? She went, well, yeah. So she wrote it down. So George is like, blah, blah, blah. He's just about to sit down. I'm thinking, no, don't. And Ruth slides a bit of paper across the table under his nose, and as he goes to sit down, he says, oh, one further question, Mr. Archibald Murray. He says, on the night in question, did you receive a cut hand? He says, no. Oh, fuck. Blown the case. Absolutely blown the case open. Proved everything. That one question proved everything. Prosecutor, can't believe her reaction. Bends down behind her book. She's looking over at my briefcase. Fuck, get out the back, fuck. Right. I'm looking up thinking, that's the reaction I wanted. That's the reaction I wanted. So I thought, definitely something in this. I thought, I've proved it. So, get ushered out. Go into a different room, you know, couldn't be bothered to go down the stairs to the legal visit room. It was just like boom next door, whatever this little room was. A barrister comes in, slaps his file down. Jason. He said, come on. He said, I thought you had no memory. I said, I ain't got no memory. How did you know to ask that question? I went, what does it matter? I'm off. He went, how are you off? I said, you know I'm off. I said, geezer was run over, mate. He went, I don't care if we sit for 5 hours. We're going to go through it and we're going to work out how you know to ask that question. I went, all right. So I said, on the night, there was a paramedic, Michael McDonald. I said, and he attended a driver of a white four-door car in Pear Tree Close. I said, and he dressed the driver's hand, which was cut. He dressed it, cleaned it, and he asked, would the male like to go to hospital in the ambulance? And he said no. He declined to go to hospital in the ambulance. He went, right. I said, now, that driver said, come outside, I want to show you my car. The paramedic went out, looked at his white car and said there was a quantity of blood all over the bonnet and down the side. He says, as it was not this driver's blood, I asked him how it got there. And he said, I was driving past the pub and somebody jumped onto the bonnet of my car. He said, I hit him, I ran him over. Oh, okay. then, so George at this point is going, up there, somebody bubbling. He went, yes, but that was clearly Mr. Archibald Martin. I went, but hang on a minute. I said, Archibald Martin's car was yellow. It was a 2-door, not a white 4-door. Yes, but, you know, I said, hang on a minute. I said, Archibald Martin was asked just now, did he receive a cut hand? He said, no. But the paramedic dressed the cut hand, cleaned the cut hand of the driver in Pear Tree Close. And that was the car that ran the deceased over. That was the car that was covered in blood. That was the car where the driver admitted hitting someone outside the pub. I said, but he didn't have a cut hand. So he weren't the car, was he? They switched the cars. Stumbling bumming, QC panicking, head going up his own arse. Prosecutor, juniors in and out the door. Clipboard, reading, backwards and forwards. So as they're going in and out, I can hear the prosecutor effing and blinding in a posh little voice. So I stuck my head out through the gap as they was going through, and I said, not so clever now, are you? She went, fuck off. Right? And I laughed. Don't mean nothing when you talk like that, do you know what I mean? Where I'm from, you say fuck off, it's just laughable, do you know what I mean? So I went, yeah, alright, whatever. I said, you know he was run over. The barrister came back in and said, we'll have a deal if you don't mention the car accident. If I don't mention the car accident, but I thought there was no car accident. Anyway, cut a long story short, the fiasco what unfolded was the prosecution said that one of her relations was on the jury. There was a legal argument to remove him. It all went up, tits up the trial. The QC fell out of me, wouldn't talk to me. It all went wrong. I got lifed off. They're all stumbling, bumbling because they know they've just said that I've caused the geezer's injuries by kicking him in the head when he was run over by a white Ford car. And I just proved it in the transcripts, because if you get the transcripts from Archibald Martin, it's evidence, and you go, did you receive a cut hand? He says no, but the paramedic dressed the cut hand of the driver, which had blood all over his car, that admitted running someone over, but compounded by the fact the paramedic realised that this person had run somebody over, RTA. So he drove down to the exact pub. It could have been any pub, couldn't it? He drove to the exact pub and he asked to speak to the detective in charge of the case. And he went over to the exact detective who was in charge of the case. And he said, I've got a car in Pear Tree Close, covered in blood. And the mail states he ran someone over outside here. And just so happens, as he's explaining it, on the floor, laying in the road, exactly where the bloke was hit, is a deceased, covered in blood, clearly run over. And there's a helicopter above filming, blah, 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 blah. So the detective running the case knew about the car in Pear Tree Close. The paramedic described it. You get the picture, I don't have to go over it, it's idiot proof. Right, I go get convicted, backwards and forwards. My case goes on the Trisha show. They talk about the car accident. David Bright, the copper running my case, shits himself, shuts everything down, goes around, puts it on all the newspapers, just everything. My brother loses his ground parole, I have everything to got me, and then from that point forward they just treat us like shit. So then I'm fighting the system. It ain't just David Bright and just hiding a car. It's now the prosecutor, because we know she's in on it, because she says, if you don't mention the car accident, you'll have a deal. What fucking car accident? So if the prosecutor knew, my QC knew, you ain't now fighting one bent copper, you're now fighting the system. And the problem is, when you're fighting the system, they know that if you prove what they did, you ain't just you who goes home and gets full compensation, it's everyone else they nicked. And they just fitted out Mickey Steele and Jack Williams for the Essex Boys shooting, which they clearly fucking never done. I'm not interested who did do it, and I'm not interested in going down all of the possible routes. It's fucking obvious. I've always known that they never done it, but anyway. What I'm saying is, it would have a knock-on effect. So there's a lot of cases where David Bright clearly fucking fitted everybody up, but they put Ralph Barrington, David Bright's fucking work colleague from Essex Police, into running the CCRC to cover up my appeal, the Essex Boys appeal, and all the others. The CCRC ain't worth a rub. They're just, anyone who thinks they've got their case in the CCRC, they're going to get an independent view. Don't waste your time. They were set up by the establishment to water cases down and cover up cases. Period. Do you know what I mean? And if anyone wants to challenge me on that, I'll just say, well, how comes I've got all the evidence to prove I'm innocent, and how comes Mickey Steele's got all the evidence to prove he's innocent, and yet the CCRC are stumbling, bumbling, and trying to hide it? It's facts. Do you know what I mean? You can say you're not corrupt. You can say, oh, I don't know what you're on about. The facts are the facts. All they do, CCRC, go back to the trial and go, yeah, but in the trial this said. Forget the trial, it's new evidence. So CCRC keep going on about, you ain't got no new evidence, no new arguments. Simple. So many years pass, I'll get out of jail. Many more years pass. It's now 24 years since I've been arrested. I'm sitting in a McDonald's eating chips on my way home from work on the A13. The Crown prosecution started against me's name just so happens to come up, and people you may know. So I thought, should I message her? I thought, I know she lied, it's all lies, but why did she lie? That's what I want to know. See, I'm not interested about all she lied, because I already knew she lied. But what I couldn't work out is, why did she lie? Why did everyone lie? Why did everyone? Like, was it just to get Nicody off? Did they all, you know, get together and shit themselves and go, oh, it was him who had the master to get him off? And then David Bright managed it all, packaged it, and just punted me off on a patsy just to get him off. And obviously the guy who ran him over. At this point, I didn't know. I knew it was lies, but I didn't know. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll message her. Worst thing she can come back and say is, oh, you did it all, blah, 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 blah. And I'll be like, so what? You said that already, it's all bollocks. So I message her. I say, all right, Stace, you know, I know you tried to come forward, which you did when I was on remand, and you did say that you wanted to make a statement to my solicitor and that they was all corrupt and that the main cop was putting it on you. I said, because you did that and you tried to come forward and tell the truth, I will give you the opportunity to tell me what happened. I said, I'm writing a book, blah, blah, blah. I said, you can have your opportunity to say what your side of it, or you can leave it. It's up to you. So she messages back, blah, blah, blah. I never see a copy of my statement. The top copper was putting it on me, blah, 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 blah. Top copper, top copper, top copper. I was thinking, the name on her statement says Scoven. So it says that Scaven took her statement. So I'm thinking, it's got to be Scaven, isn't it? I was thinking, I don't know what Scaven looks like. So she kept saying, the copper running the case, the top copper running the case. I thought, I only know one person who ran the case, and that was David Bright. That ain't Scoven. His name ain't on his statement. So she kept saying, I only ever dealt with one copper. I only ever dealt with one copper. It's the same copper as the top copper. So I thought, so I've got a picture of David Bright, because he was the only top copper who ran the case, thinking, don't know what this is about. Sent it to her and said, what, him? She went, that's the prick, take him out. I was like, what the fuck? So I said, but he didn't take your statement. Yes, he did. I said, what, he took your statement? She went, he's the only copper I ever dealt with. She went, he kept coming round my house, he wrote my statement for me. I went, what? Tried to get me to learn it, said that I was going to have my baby in Holloway if I didn't do what he said. Put loads of pressure on me, said he'd get me a bravery award, and took me personally in his car to go to the bravery award to pick me up and got me a bravest girl in Britain. I went, right, I know that because I see it in the book. She went, what book? I said, didn't you know you wrote a book? She went, no. I said, it's written from your perspective because you was the only witness that was inside the pub, outside the pub. I said, it's written from you. She went, I don't know about no book. She went, I ain't even seen a copy of my statement. So I went, do you want to see a copy of your statement? She went, well, yeah. So I send her a copy of her statement. Don't forget, Facebook is triangulated. So the metadata from my phone and her phone shows we never met, shows where we were when we said it, time, dates, everything. It's all been checked. So I send her a copy of her statement, thinking like she's gonna go, yeah, that was it, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So she comes back with, oh my fucking God, is he for real? She went, none of that happened, Jay. I was like, what? She went, that ain't my statement, that ain't what I said. She went, I thought he was run over. I said, but it says in there, you watched me kicking him continually while he was in your arms, while you was trying to revive him. She went, didn't happen. She went, I knew he was fucked up, but I didn't know he was that bad. She went, that's not my, now I know why he wouldn't give me a copy of my statement. She went, none of that happened, Jay, none of it. I went, right. So she went, he kept putting pressure on me to say, as he would say, write a statement as a statement should be done. I said, but why did he come round your house? She went, he's the only cop I ever dealt with. He always came round. He's come around my flat all the time. I said, right. I said, what, and he took your statement? She went, he wrote it. He actually wrote it. I went, so why has it got a different cop's name on it? She went, I don't know. She went, he even came in the interview room, stood against the wall and was going, to answer the questions. I went, well, it's definitely him. She went, 100% him. She went, of course he was. She went, he's the one who took me in his own car to the Bravery Awards. He was the one who done everything. I went, right. I knew it was David Bright who fitted me up, 100%. Because I couldn't work out how her statement changed. So I thought, if she ain't seen her statement, how many other people ain't seen them? He just wrote a lot of waffle. When I was at trial, loads of people was coming in and just reading from their statement, and it wasn't even that. Sometimes the prosecution was reading them out. Oh, there's no point calling them, just reading the statement out. And I could get in flashbacks of all how they did it, and I was like, you slippery bastards. So she said, look, I'll go to court. She said, I'll do anything. She went, I can't believe he's done it to you and Brian. She went, it's all lies. She went, it says in here Brian was growling like a wild animal. She went, Brian wasn't growling. She said, it says in here I was petrified for my life. She went, I wasn't scared for my life. I was like, right. So I was thinking, it's definitely Brian who's fitting me up. I can't believe, why did he not use a minion? Why did he stick a different copper's name on his statement when he wrote it and say it was Scoven when it weren't Scoven? Well, it was him. Why did he stay in the interview room? So I said, do you want to see a copy of the book? She went, yeah, send me the book. Sent Stacey a copy of the book. And the book is written from the barmaid's perspective, who he changed the name to Abby. Or Abby, I don't know, changed the name. So she's come back. She said, oh my fucking God. She went, is he for real? She went, Jay, when I say none of that happened, I mean none of it happened. She said, it's all lies. She went, you wasn't on the bonnet of a car. She went, the till wasn't smashed on the floor. She said, you wasn't kicking him in the head. She said, he wasn't in my arms while you was kicking him in the head and while he died. She went, it's all lies. Every single bit of it is lies. She went, I can't believe he's done it to you. She went, now I know why you must have been pissed off with me. I said, it's not I was pissed off with you. I said, it's just I couldn't work out how he'd done it or how he'd got everyone to lie. I know it's all lies, but I just got, it's quite hard to work out. So then, don't forget, he was controlling the forensics. There was no forensics. He was controlling all the witness statements. He was obviously the one who put all of the evidence against Craig in the unused material to get Craig off. He was the one who controlled every little bit, like the puppet master. So she said, let me write a statement for you. She said, so she wrote a statement, and there's 27 things wrong with the book. Basically all of it. She said, you never ever got on the bonnet of any kind, jumped up and down. She said, I don't know why he would want you to be on the bonnet, jumping up and down on a car. Now, what she don't know, she's not seen none of the evidence. In the photos, there's a thick layer of dirt over the bonnet, and they said I was jumping up and down, denting the bonnet in. There's none of my footprints in the layers of dirt. The bonnet's not dented. I could never have been on the bonnet. So forensically, I went on the bonnet, and obviously, I've got the Crown prosecution started saying I was never on the bonnet. So why did David Bright want me to be on the bonnet of a car outside the pub? Hang on a minute. the deceased was run over, wasn't he? He was on the bonnet of a car. So any witness come forward and said, I see someone on the bonnet of a car because they got run over, good old meticulous Bright would say, no, that was Jason Bolger. He was angrily punching the window screen to try and get the man out. Very clever, Mr. Bright. But you never thought that I would speak to the Crown prosecution starting this against me. And the problem you've got is, she's made a statement against you, calling you out, saying, none of it happened. I was there, you wasn't. So your entire book could only have come from my statement. Because I was the only person on the night within 2-3 foot of Jason for the entire event. And the same goes for Brian. None of that happened. So she's saying it didn't happen. And she's saying that the whole book's fabricated. And her evidence went before my jury to convict me. That proves they could have come to the conclusion and used her statement, because she was the star prosecution witness against me. So had the jury had known that it was all lies at the time, had she been shown a copy of her statement, I'm pretty sure the verdict would have been different. For that very reason, because her evidence went before the jury, it comes down to two things. One, the CCRC cannot say it's not fresh evidence because it only came out in 2024. Therefore, it is fresh evidence because I didn't have it at the time of the trial or any appeal or anything. Two, she personally names David Bright as writing her statement, getting her to lie, getting her a bravery award. There's even photos of her at the bravery awards with David. The fact that I proved there was a car accident and it was hidden, the fact that everyone come forward and said there was a car accident, you then go to the thing of, why was David Bright going above and beyond to cover up a car accident and get my co-defendant off? Well, my co-defendant would have said, if you nick me for smashing the bar stool, I'd just say he was run over. Everyone's going to walk. Mr. Bright couldn't have that. He knew I had no memory, so he played his little game, his little puppet game. And he got Craig out of the trial on an halfway submission, let him go home, hid all the evidence in the unused material, never produced a forensics bundle, got rid of the fingerprints on the bar stool, hid the helicopter video, said there was no helicopter there on the night, wouldn't give me none of the photos. Same old corrupt patterns. What happened was, why did they want to cover up this car accident? Well, it comes out that the person driving that car was a police officer, a serving Essex police officer. So David Bright was trying to save one of his own. David. Just not looking good for you, mate, is it? So no wonder he was running around to all of the Gina Marsden at the Thurrock Gazette saying, don't print anything positive about the Bolgers, or I'm going to come and do this and that to you. I've got the statements, David. Now I know why you was going to the victim's family, getting the daughter's statement and running to all of my hearings to get out of prison, going, look, you can't get out because he's violent and look how it's affected all of our lives. Why didn't you tell the deceased daughter that he was run over and not kicked? Why don't you be straight with her? Do you know what I mean? You make out you're this knight in shining armour going above and beyond for justice when you're just a low-life corrupt wrong'un who don't care about dead victims' families. You don't care about fitting up two innocent carpenters who had no previous convictions for a life sentence they should never have got. You don't care about manipulating evidence to get people off. You don't care about anything but yourself and how you look and how many little establishment deals you can have for your little club. What I would say, David, it's all over, mate. It is all over. Both the statements are going in next week to the CCRC, and in them statements is the Crown prosecution star witness stating that, one, David Bright wrote, well, I don't know why I'm saying David Bright. You know. You know David, because you wrote it, didn't you? You wrote the entire case. You fabricated all the evidence. You hid all the forensics. You manipulated everybody to get your little mate off driving the car. The little white car went to Pear Tree. You hid all the reports. You hid all the helicopters. And I must admit, I thought you was a mug. I looked at your haircut and thought, fucking hell, half-wit, what an half-wit. But I didn't realise you was quite good, mate. You was good. You nearly got away with it. You're 86 now, you're in ill health, and you're probably going to go in the ground any day of old age. But the good thing is, your legacy as being the superintendent who wrote books and was a big man for justice, who went to CrimeCon and charged stupid amounts of money to have your book signed, will go down in history as a dirty, low-life, corrupt, wrong'un, filth, absolute no good. Yes, there's a libel coming your way for the book, because guess what, David? You said, my book is a true story of what happened on the night, written by David Bright. David. But the Crown Prosecution Star Witness says it didn't happen, and she was there and you wasn't. And you wrote the whole book from her eyes, from her point of view, from where she was. And she's saying it didn't happen, David, which means you're liable. You're liable. So Bonnie Books, who have already been contacted, had some of the evidence sent to them, and instantly sent an email immediately saying, we are removing the chapter 3 All Killers from David Bright's Catching Monsters book. We will never publish it again. Which is good. Moving forward, you can never spill your dribble of lies anymore. But going back to all the book signings at CrimeCon, all the money you earned from a fabricated chapter in a book, which you were signing off, making out you was a hero, when it was all fabricated lies. And from 2004 to 2024, quite a long time, David, you was believed as this true story. The difference is, David, the person you wrote it from says it didn't happen. Stacey. All of the evidence, and I've got more than you can ever imagine, shows there was a car accident. The attempted murder victim on the night says, I thought he was run over. The person in the yellow car, which I was meant to be jumping on the bonnet of, said, I thought he was run over. The Crown Prosecution Star Witness says, I thought he was run over. The two independent witnesses, Roger Clay and Kenneth Yeldon, see a car skid to a halt in the middle of the road, heard a bang, come out and said, we thought he was run over. A serving police officer, David, John Bowden, of 17 years, was walking past the scene, no more than 4 or 5 foot, about from here to the back of this cabin in this boat. Little tiny, 4 or 5 foot. He said, on the night, he see a white car skid up next to him. Right next to him, David. Right next to him. And he said, the car came to a stop, put his hazard warning lights on. The driver got out and walked around the back of his car, David. Didn't he? Do you remember? The statement you tried to hide by putting it in the other bundle and not putting in the committal bundle, and then tried to cover it all up. And in that statement he says, laying under the back of the car, suggesting he had just gone over him, was the deceased covered in blood. There was only one deceased covered in blood on the night, David, laying in that road, and we both know that's the person you fitted me up for kicking. This same male said, or should I say this same serving police officer from the Met, someone you couldn't get your little hooks of corruption into, said it was obvious this male was a victim of an RTA. Road traffic accident. David. a police officer watched it and said it was an RTA. So hang on. Let's think about this. On the night, who was the first car on the scene? The very, very first car. It was an Essex police officer. And what was his name, David? Daniel Cooper. And what was Daniel Cooper driving? A white car. And when he was driving along, what did he say he see? I see a figure in the road from 80 metres away. When I got to 60 metres, I noticed it was a male. When I got to 40 metres, yeah, save it. Making out in the dark from hundreds of metres away, could see it was a male. When I got close, he was covered in blood. It's all waffle to make it look like he never hit no one because he could see everything. But what was important about the very first car on the scene, the Essex police officer, what was important about his statement, David? That he pulled over, pulled out his mobile phone and phoned 999 and he reported a road traffic accident, didn't he, David? He reported the road traffic accident at the time in real time and he described what was going on in his rear view mirror at the time live to the operator. What did you do with that recording, David? We know what you did. You did not put it into the call logs, did you, David? Because the first call in the call logs comes from the car behind, the yellow Hyundai, that skidded up behind the body. Archie Martin that said he didn't have a cut hand. Why is a serving police officer driving a white car, the first on scene, who says he was run over, who does a live RTA call and explains the entire case? Why is his evidence not in the call log, David? We can go on and on and on, and I'm sure we will. But this was the fabricated book you wrote, Catching Monsters, by David Bright. Let's have a look. A true story of one man's battle against the most evil men in Britain. I think we know who's the most evil. And it's you, mate. Now, in here is a chapter before it was removed, chapter 17, of a full fabricated case of what David wants everyone to believe. In there it says, oh, somebody said that the Bulgers were good Samaritans and they was trying to help after the victim was run over. Then you say, David, nothing could be further from the truth. Trying to mention it and then cover it like you always do. Guess what, David? I wrote The Dyslexic Carpenter, and in here is the actual evidence from your corrupt trial. All the evidence, mate. And this is book 1, and it's quite big, look. It's quite a big book to get the evidence in. And in this book, it takes me from growing up right away through until getting out of prison in 2012, 2013. Part 2 to this book, which comes out in a couple of weeks, takes you from 2014 right up to present date. And in there is all of the corruption, all of the statements against you, how you wrote the statements, how you told the prosecution, star witness, Stacey, that you would get her a bravery award for her evidence, and how you said, this is the way a statement needs to be done. And you wrote it for her, and you would never give her a copy. In here is all of the messaging, and in here is the full case of corruption. Now, if your little club, shall we say, wants to keep a lid on this, like they always do, and go around and threaten all of the people in the Thurrock Gazette and try and get into the CCR, well, the CCRC we already work from, but, you know, the CCRC will get their heads together because they don't want it all to come out. It's too late, mate. It's too late. The horse has bolted. The statement against you has been made. You will be on a libel, and the statement is going into the appeal court in the next couple of weeks. It is new evidence, and you're finished. So, if you wait a little while, you'll see a very good podcast from me coming out, which is in 2 parts over 2 hours, explaining everything I've just said, but in far more detail. Alternatively, you can read The Dyslexic Carpenter by Jason Bolger, or you can look on up the website and you can order it through Amazon, or you can wait a couple of weeks until book 2 comes out and you can look at the final nails in your coffin. Because at the end of the day, I've got the evidence. I can sit here now and say, you feed me up, you personally feed me up, you are a slippery, dirty, no good, wrong and bent copper. And if you want to hit me with a libel, I'd love it. I'd love it. Save me the costs. You know what you are. You know exactly what you did, and that is why you've not ever challenged any of my books. You've not challenged your chapter being taken down. You've not challenged any of my reports. You've not challenged anything because you think you've got the CCRC on side because your mate Barrington run it and all your little corrupt mates are in there, and you think that you can keep a lid on this cookie jar of poison. But I can tell you, mate, you can't. Watch this space. There's some big things about to happen with media and with lots of things. I'm not going to go into all of it because it's nice to have some surprises left. So David, sat in my cell for many, many years wondering, would I ever catch out the great David Bright? Would I ever figure out who fitted me up? Would I ever work out who got them all to lie? I can sit here now and I know everything. I know every bit of evidence. I know how you did it. And I know why you did it. It wasn't worth going through what you put us through. And I'm sure that you'll use your corrupt friends and you'll fake an heart attack and you'll go into a home and you'll possibly do your bird in a decat, if at all, because of who your friends are and how you'll protect each other. It's a bit like the Epstein files, isn't it? You're all the same. But even if you don't go to prison, even if you do say, oh, I'm ill, or even if you say, I'm mentally unstable, I don't know, I can't remember because I'm so old, it matters not to me. It doesn't matter. I don't want you to go to jail. Means nothing. It means absolutely nothing to me whether you go to jail or not. What that means to me is that I worked you out. It was me, someone with dyslexic with no memory, who woke up in a police station not knowing where they were and being lied to by everybody, and have the weight of the whole judiciary coming down upon them. And I overcome all of it. Took you out the fucking game. Bye-bye for David. Bye-bye Essex Police. It's been very emotional. And I look forward to all of the lovely twisted lies, all the corruption, and all the people who try and back this to say that you're not corrupt. They will fall with you. And you know it.